Okay, I'm gonna do some snowshoeing, and I'm gonna talk a bit about how to be how to be safe while you're snowshoeing. One thing I did before I left was I left a note. I told my wife this morning I was going snowshoeing. I told her where. Just out by Culloden, near Digby. So as I go along, I'll do some little video clips. So right now I'm dressed for snowshoeing. Okay, I got a good base layer on, a pair of long johns, an undershirt, a long sleeve undershirt. They're not made of cotton, they're made of a material that'll pull the sweat away from my body, because for anybody that does snowshoe, they'll know that you sweat a lot. It is cold today. It's about -8 here in Digby. It was colder in the morning, and there is a bit of a wind chill. The ocean's down that direction over there, Bay of Fundy. There's a pretty raw wind that comes off it, so with the wind chill I'm thinking it's about -12, -13. Hat, you probably, as we go along, depending on how much warmer it gets, it's still, I think it's just before noon still. I might take my hat off. As I'm going, I ventilate, okay, so as you can tell I have my jacket on, and just above my my thermal layer, or my base layer, I got a insulating layer. In this case I got a sweater that's fleece. I got an old jacket liner I had when I was in the military. It's an American make. It's a quilted jacket liner filled with down, and I got an old army jacket. This jacket, if you can get your hands on them, are pretty cool. They have a lining in between two layers of cloth, and it's a Gore-Tex lining. It also has a hood on the back that's all Gore-Tex. First time I wore this, it was in a heavy winter rain and sleet storm, and on the outside it looked like I was a drowned rat, but I was actually, underneath I was really dry. You'll notice that I'm venting right now. I got my insulating layers opened. I do have a scarf, but it's opened at the top. And you know, with the with that little acronym I learned was cold. Keep your clothes clean. Avoid overheating. Layering is very important, and of course try to keep your stuff dry. For pants, I'm wearing a wind pant, a fairly thick cloth material. Okay, it sheds snow really well. And then today I have just my long johns underneath. Again, it's a wicking material, but I do have fleece pants that, like, if it got really raw, I'd probably put the fleece pants on. And I would normally have a pair of gloves on with my mitts. They're my fancy dancy mitts. I got them from Lake Constance, Elliott Lake. Lake Constance, just north of Lake Superior, from a lady. She was of Ojibwe Nation. I might be saying that wrong. She gave them to me. I was really happy, but they're made out of caribou, deer, and beaver. That fur on the edge is beaver. Anyway, they're fairly comfy mitts. I would advise that you not touch anything without at least a pair of gloves on, especially anything metal. So I just came off the road. I'm following the brook here. Just up a ways you can probably see the bridge. I'm not a cameraman, I'm sorry if I mess that up. So I'm going along and I'm picking up some things like right here, birch bark, throwing it in my pocket. Trying to find there's a lichen around here called old man's beard. Good for making a fire. But every opportunity, if you can squirrel away, go ahead and peel some bark. What I'm going to attempt to do, I do have a lighter, but I'm not going to use it today because I brought that because I am a smoker at the moment. One of these days I'll quit smoking. Okay, but I'm going to attempt to start a fire with a striker. Okay, and then once I get that going, I'll discuss some things that any snowshoer should know when they're going out in the woods. Another good thing, I've been trying to look around for it. Something I used about 2 weeks ago was spruce gum. It's great for getting a fire going, especially if it's damp. You still have to have a tinder made up of dry material. That's what I'm collecting the bark for. I'm going to shave the inside of the bark. Again, because of the lack of old man's beard around. When you're building a fire, a little trick you may want to do is collect your fuel first. As you're walking along, collect your tinder, but then make sure you have your fuel, and then the next thing you're going to collect is your kindling. Okay, and the reason for that is with your fuel, you can lay your fuel down. It'll heat up once you get the fire going. But you want dry kindling, so if you collect your kindling first and then go out and get your fuel, your kindling has a chance of getting wet. Where if you collect your kindling after you collect your fuel, you'll, sorry guys, I'm a little distracted. I'm looking for old man's beard because that'd make things go a lot better. But anyway, always collect your kindling last, and then if you didn't think ahead and collect tinder, of course, then you go collect the tinder after you collect the kindling. You need a good dry base to start any fire. Anyway, so once I got a pocket full of bark, I'm going to try another trick I know by shaving the inside of the bark to build up my tinder. Grab some more bark here along the way. But if I do get lost, so at this, we'll pretend at this moment I'm lost. Okay, you can't let your ego get the best of you. So what you should do right away is say, I'm lost. Okay? A lot of guys have acronyms and little tricks they use. All I use is SFS. Okay? Shelter, fire, shelter. Okay, what I mean by the first shelter is you're just looking for a nice pile of trees or a cliff or a rock or something you can hide behind and get yourself out of the element. And then of course build a fire. Then the second shelter is a shelter that you can possibly spend the night in. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to go looking around some more for some more tinder. Yeah, some of the things you see. I just walked up the hill. I knew this ledge was here. That's where I came from. I was looking for some bouldering areas last year. You can see somebody's got a survey line there. Anyway, might have been around here somewhere. I started looking for an area to, practice some bouldering. The rock is nice. Got a lot of hand holes and stuff. But anyway, I took a bit of a tumble. Coming off the cliff was bad enough, but I broke my own rule. I had a backpack on with climbing gear and went for a tumble all the way down there. Surprisingly, I didn't hurt myself. My buddy that was with me, Brian, he kind of got scared. Anyway, I'm just going to use this area to build just a quick fire. So again, I've started the first S on my shelter, fire, shelter rule. Okay, and knowing my environment, you know, a person should have a certain amount of situational awareness about the area they're in. I know around here that the prevailing wind this time of year kind of comes from the southwest, or from the opening of the Bay of Fundy. So that's why I selected this rocky outcrop, this crag. Now, I wouldn't advise you, you know, if you can't see the top of a cliff or a crag, I wouldn't advise you to stick so close to the rock as a shelter, okay? If you, because there's things on the top, like winter, spring, and fall is a bad time to be around any crag, because ice tends to push rocks and make cracks wider, and next thing you know, you're going to have a collapse, a rock fall. But I do know this area, there is some ice on each side, but above me there's nothing that's going to cause me any danger. But I mean, there's, you know, I'm not saying avalanches don't happen in Nova Scotia, but they're very rare, and I don't think they're as life-threatening as they would be out in BC or Alberta. So, first thing I'm going to do, now I've got myself out of the elements, is I'm going to start assessing. Okay, what do I got with me? Alright, so I got the gear I'm wearing. I did bring water, a little 2-liter water bottle. A little trick about carrying water in the winter. Don't always fill your canteen if you're going to have the canteen exposed. Even if the canteen is insulated, it does have a tendency to freeze, especially the tops. If I had a bigger jacket, I'd probably carry my water underneath the top layer. That way I could keep everything warm. But I've been out on trips where especially my thermos top would freeze, and it took me forever to get it open. If you're dying of thirst, that's the last thing you need. Now I'm going to assess what other gear, okay? I got obviously the stuff I'm wearing, including my mitts. I got water. And some things that in Nova Scotia, believe it or not, are law to carry in the woods. Now the only ones that they seem to go after are the hunters. It's only written in the hunter safety book. I can't really say if it's in the fisherman's handbook, but I know it is in the hunter's handbook. And you can be approached by a conservation officer, and you can be asked whether, if you have 3 things. First thing we're going to talk about is a knife. Okay, knife or an axe. Of course, my knife is underneath my birch bark. But you should take a good hunting knife, a good sturdy knife at a minimum. And I would take another jackknife or a pocket knife with me for a backup. And that knife doesn't leave your body. So there is my handmade knife made by a buddy of mine in Germany. It's got a mammoth ivory handle. Of course, that's going to stay with me no matter where I go. I will not lay it on the ground. I'll not tie it to another piece of kit and lay it on the ground, because you never know, something may happen and you might need the knife. So I'm just putting it back in my pocket. Another thing you're supposed to have is sturdy string or rope for shelter building. This is the minimum stuff, which I do have in my pocket. You can buy like 100 feet at any dollar store for 75 cents to $1. And the last thing you're required to carry is this baby here, a compass. Okay, this is a Brunton compass. I don't know the full story on what's going on between Europe and North America. Brunton. But you'll hear people refer to these as Silva compasses. From what I understand, Silva in North America is a different company than Silva in in Europe. But anyway, I would suggest you pay a lot of money for a compass. Don't try to cheap out on it, because it's probably you're probably getting garbage. And I definitely wouldn't buy a silver compass here in North America. Not anything that's going to cost me $15 anyway. I definitely, if you know, I know things are tough nowadays, but I paid about 50 bucks, maybe a little bit more for this. It's a good compass. I have no bubbles. Back in the Army, they used to tell us that this is almost similar to the same type of compass we carried in the Army. But liquid filled. Now this is, I think, some sort of alcohol based filling in there. But they say liquid filled compasses tend to get sluggish in the winter. I've never had a problem with that happening. But I mean, if you do follow that rule, I'm sure if you were in minus 50-degree weather like they're getting out west right now, I would probably go for more of an air-filled linsatic compass of some sort. But anyway, not only do you have to have the compass, you have to know how to use it. And I do know how to use a compass. Lots of experience. So I'm going to get ready to start trying a fire out. Oh, one other item. Whoa. Sorry. You must have a source of flame to be in the woods in Nova Scotia. Whether it be a match in a waterproof case or waterproof matches. Even if you own waterproof matches, I would advise you to put the match in a waterproof case. Another thing I do have a lighter on me. Problem with the Bic lighters is if you aren't careful, butane can stop lighting when it gets cold. I'm sure any smoker that's been out in the cold tried to spark their lighters had problems. But if you warm up the lighter, it will work. And here's what I use. I use a little magnesium and file, bought at a Canadian Tire for a couple of bucks. And well, as you can tell, it's worn out. I've used it a lot, and it does throw a good spark. And I'll just show you here what kind of spark it throws. I don't know if you can see this right now. There. I know it looks like only a little bit in the daylight, but at night it does throw a lot of spark. So I'm going to get ready to start building my fire. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to use the wall. Here's a reflector. I'll take my snowshoes and then we'll start packing the ground down. Okay, next I'm going to either look for one or two items. I'm going to look for something that's punky or green. Okay, in this case I'm just going to grab something that's green. There's a little birch tree behind me with a nice green branch on it. I'm just going to make a small example here. This all depends on how deep your snow is. If your snow is deep, you may want to have a shovel with you or some way of digging a hole, because you don't want your fire to sink into the snow. But for the amount of snow I have here, all I'm going to need is a table. Now, myself, I would have an axe, but just to show you what this knife can do, I just chop this branch down. Okay, and I'm just going to make some smaller sticks. Make them about a little more than a foot long. Of course, I'm breaking my own rule. Okay, try to use your knife as minimal as possible. And I'm just going to make a table out of the sticks. Okay, again, I'm not making a big one. I want to give you an idea what it is I should be doing here. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, even with punky wood you can do it. Alright, so in this case I'm just making a small table, but I would make a table about this wide and that deep. Okay, so next thing I'm going to need is some tinder. And of course, at this time I'd probably go out and collect fuel and some kindling. So all I'm going to do is get the kindling. Put in the order again. Fuel, kindling, and then your tinder. Fuel and tinder is what you want dry. Alright, so these are the size of the sticks I'm going to be using for the kindling. You'll notice it's nice and dry. Okay, you don't want punky or green stuff. Okay, and I'm making just a little bundle here. Some more. Take a knee. Take this way. Sorry guys for changing things around. Again, I'm not trying to make a great big fire. I'm just going to make a little tiny little thing as an example. Okay, so that's a nice bit of kindling. I see I got some nice dry spruce ends down here. There's a bit of snow on them, but you can get the dry stuff in there. That works well. Anybody that's ever been in the woods would know that. And just a little ways for me is some dried leaves, but I'm going to try some of this birch bark. Okay, so alright, so what I want to do with the birch bark, first of all, I want to get a nice big piece of it with a lot of a backing on it. Of course. Okay. And I want to make a little bit of a angle here with my kindling. Obviously because of the size of my fire, it's going all the hell on me. But anyway, so nice piece of bark. Okay, grab my knife, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape the inside. I don't know if you guys can see this, but anyway, I'm just scraping the inside of this bark, and I'm getting a bit of a tinder on here. Here we go. Alright. And once that takes off, that birch bark burns like crazy. nice and warm. Okay, and of course, I'd get my kiln up and going. Alright, so it took me a couple of minutes, but I wasn't panicking, you know, and it's one thing to start a fire with a match and a lighter, and you know, there's some people that carry, like I myself, I do carry things like Vaseline and cotton balls, but it's another thing to go out in the bush with just a sparker and start a fire. My next trick would be to try, when I get comfortable with it, is fire plow and or flint and steel, or one of those fire drills, but I'm not good enough for that at this particular moment. Eventually I will be. So one other thing I'm going to show you, like, I'm a sweater. I sweat a lot, and even though I'm ventilating and it is cool around here, geez, that fire's nice and warm. I carry a little towel, just a little face cloth really, and I take every opportunity, especially around the head and neck area. I know my hair is probably looking wonderful right now, but to wipe the sweat off, you know, because sweat will make you cold. The old saying in Canada is, if you sweat, you die. Another good thing, sunglasses. You can get snowblind here in North America and Canada. Anyway, mission successful. I'm going to put this sucker out and then carry on. I'm out here to snowshoe, not to sit around and look at a fire. And I thought, while I'm out here, I may as well show how to build a fire. And it's one thing to learn something off of YouTube or in a classroom. It's another thing to go out and practice what it is you learn. Any snowshoeer going out, you know, should probably take the time to learn how to build a fire in the snow, because it can be quite the task if you haven't done it before. Coming back out to the road. Beautiful area. Like, I think they also call this the old post road. There's a number of them around the area. I don't know what they mean by old post road. There's the bridge. Must have been an old roadway. A lot of effort went into that bridge. It looks like it's stone and concrete. And it's got creosote beams. There's a trick for you. Creosote burns wonderfully. Right up there with spruce gum. The trick with spruce gum when you're building a fire is when it gets going, it won't go out. You know, so even if it's wet, spruce gum is a good thing to use. I don't know about the nutritional value, but you can also pop it in your mouth and eat it. I've seen some people talking about balsam fir. There's something there. Talking about balsam from balsam fir trees too. Apparently you can use that. You know, that's a great thing about snowshoeing. It doesn't take a great deal of skill to use them. You should take an hour lesson anyway. I'm wearing more of the bear paw style. I bought these a long time ago, and they're long because I normally carry a load. You're going to be carrying a load in deep snow. You may want to have a snowshoe that's going to hold you up and your load. But if you're just going out for weekend trekking or whatever, average size snowshoe is cool. I'm not a big fan of poles, but I can see why some people would use them. Some common mistakes I see: people walk with their bow-legged, you know, especially with these new aluminum ones. There's no need for it. But even with the old-fashioned ones, they were designed so that you could lift your leg, and when you place it down, because of the shape, one snowshoe would never touch another. Another thing you might notice is I'm not going very fast. I'm not a snowshoe racer. I'm just walking, enjoying the woods. I know that there's a couple of hunting camps up there. That's something else I should notice. Hunting season runs, I believe. I haven't hunted in a long time. I don't like hunting anymore. But I think it starts around 1st of October, in September, 1st of October, something like that, and ends at the end of February. So, like, this is March. If I was walking around these woods, there's still rabbit hunters out here. So I'd probably, or there would have been rabbit hunters out here. I would have worn an orange hat and a vest, but now where it's March, I think hunting season's supposed to be over, and again, maybe I should check before I go. I'm not wearing it. Another good thing about wearing the hunter's orange is if you do get lost, instead of wearing all these dull colors like I am, wearing a bright color is better, because you can see the person. Oh, I'll carry on. Okay. So what I got here, there's a little ball of spruce branches that grow occasionally on fir trees and spruce trees here. I believe that's a fir tree. But those little balls of wood make great kindling. So if you find something like that, cut it and take it with you. Still haven't found any old man's beard though. Almost at the end. Thank God. Now what would be terrible is if I came out here and my car wasn't there. Then I'd be upset. So I only own a Prius. I could not drive into the driveway, but there was a bit of a shoulder there, so I just pulled off. And anybody that owns a Prius knows it doesn't have the best traction. There's a built-in traction control that kicks in if you skid. Unfortunately, when your tire spins, it kicks in too. So, you're stuck. Anyway, I don't know. I had fun. I hope that video turns out. I'm not a cinematographer or anything, but I thought I'd like to show you how to build a fire in the snow. And I'm not ashamed to say I'm pooped. Cheers.